This screencast will illustrate to you how you can use the Nearctic spider database to manage your spider collection records. Whether you are the head curator of a large museum or a private collector with a handful of specimens, the Nearctic spider database management system is fully scalable and can accommodate thousands of records or merely a handful of records. So this system is fully online, and superficially it looks as if you were working in Excel. But you have to keep in mind that your data table resides on the server, and all your data are fed via the internet into your browser. So there's nothing to install and nothing to update whenever I roll out new features. So you can scroll up and down just as though you could do in Excel, and you notice there's a brief pause there as records are fed to you. There are a number of very useful functions that you can use in order to manage your data, one of which is to be able to actually sort your data. So, for example, if you click the header, you can immediately sort all your records in increasing order or decreasing order. And you can also increase the size of the columns or decrease the size of the columns. Up in the upper left here, you can see a number of functions that provide great value for you when you manage your data using this system. For example, you can enter new records. So I'll walk through this procedure to illustrate some of the visual cues that are provided for you. So I could enter an institution code such as C&C for the Canadian National Collection, for example, and a catalog number. And now here, what you need to do is put the full nomenclature as written on the determination label for that collection. So in this case, I'll pretend as though I will put Pardosa moesta. Now oftentimes the full determination is not written on the label, but the database expects you to put author and author year. So I've provided a little function here for you to try and simplify that process. So you'll notice in this pop-up window, Pardosa and Moesta are immediately filled in these text boxes. So I can click Search and produce a table of all the names associated with Pardosa moesta. Highlighted in green here for you is the current nomenclature. So you can click Get All, and that will populate all the text boxes here associated with that name. And you'll notice they've turned green. Well, had I have entered the data in manually and incorrectly put the author year as, for example, 1891, I get this lovely visual cue to tell me that that combination of names is not recognized by the system. Now, of course, you can continue to have that data reside in your table in the database, but it won't be aggregated with everyone else's tables, and it won't be presented on dynamically created maps or species lists. I'll continue on and add a country and a state province, and that should be written out in full. A locality, and latitude and longitude in decimal degrees. And oftentimes, the coordinates written on the collection label are not in decimal degrees, so there may be some information there to help guide you. One of the tools I have here for you is a pop-up window of Google Map, where you can actually zoom in on a specific locality to the best of your abilities. Here I'm trying to find Peace River. There we go. And for example, I can click a particular spot just like that, and up come the coordinates for you. And rather than having to copy and paste all these out or type them manually, I have this function where you can click Copy Coordinates, and that will populate these text boxes here for you, so there's nothing ever to type. I also have some visual cues built into this system. So, for example, if I were entering these values manually and didn't put a coordinate that is actually found in Alberta, for example, a latitude of 26 degrees as opposed to 56 degrees, for example, I have this nice visual cue. These text boxes turn pink, and I have an indication here up at the top that tells me that the coordinates are not in Alberta. Another feature worth mentioning is that I've got a system in place here that will allow you to enter in collection dates more effectively than what has traditionally been done with this drop-down menu calendar. So you'll notice it's written 06/02/1998 for June 2nd. Oftentimes on a determination label or a collection label, the date might not be written like that. So if you were to attempt to put in a date, something like this, the system will recognize it and say, oops, you've put an invalid month. So you can quickly correct that with the drop-down calendar. And who identified this particular specimen, the year in which it was identified, type status, if it happens to be a type specimen, and the number of adult males or females or immatures within that individual vial. And I also have a large text box here for you where you can enter in notes. In this case, it might indicate a full citation to a publication where that specimen may have appeared, and some auto-generated metadata here for you that you never have to concern yourself with, such as the timestamp that the record was entered and who actually entered it. So I won't save that record. I'll just cancel that for now. So some of the other functions in here that provide great value for you, I hope, are such things as querying all of your existing records for nomenclatural issues. So I'll click that and show you how the system works. So I had some 452 records in here already in my table, and I'd like to be able to know if any of them don't match any nomenclature as expressed by the nomenclatural tables in the Nearctic Spider database. So here we go. That took a brief moment. But as you can see, there are some 14 records of mine here whose nomenclature are not matched by any of the nomenclatural tables in the database. And so if I'm working through a number of specimens and I would like to be able to work on the identifications as I go along, I can quickly find those in the database and adjust them as I see fit. Now, speaking of wanting to edit a record that has been entered, there's a context menu that you can bring up via double-clicking, clicking, or right-clicking any particular row. So, for example, I can do so and edit that record immediately. I can also choose to map a record if that particular record has had a latitude and longitude. And I can also choose to map all the visible records in my current view. So the other feature worth mentioning is that I also have some functions that allow you to query all of your records for coordinate issues. So just as I demonstrated how you enter individual records and the boxes turn pink if they happen to be found outside your designated state or province, you can query all of your existing records for those similar sorts of issues. And if ever you need to get in touch with me or you have some suggestions that you would like to offer, you can use this contact button, or if I have not addressed some of your questions, I have more documentation in the help. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this screencast, and something here is going to provide some assistance when you go ahead and begin entering your spider records in the Nearctic Spider database.